Hello, my name is Tony Carnes. I'm your host for A Journey Through NYC Religions Television. Welcome. Today we have an extraordinary special treat that's very important for you to pay attention to. My producer woke me up this morning and said, we have a New Yorker who is in Rangoon, Burma, or Myanmar, as it's officially called, that it can tell us what is going on in Burma. In this state, there have been a crackdown by the socialist military, and who has killed hundreds of people and threw out the legitimate democratically elected government. We are having to do this interview, if we can get a hold of him momentarily, without picture of him, and I'm going to call him a journalist because we need to anonymize his biography, and we will also slightly alter the voice. At any moment, the government may cut off all internet connection to the outside world. So if we have a sudden cessation of the interview, you'll know that's what's happened. But we believe we're getting just under the wire to do one of the last interviews that will be possible to be done in Burma if the government goes through with their threat to cut off the internet there in that country. Hello, journalist, are you there?
Yes, hello, I am.
And by the way, what time is it at your time right now?
Right now it's 10:26 p.m.
Was there any conflict today in the capital?
Yes, there's conflict here and throughout the entire country perpetually.
What kind of conflict is that? Is it just people demonstrating, or is it more serious?
With this, the country simply now has simply descended into chaos. The Chinese troops have been brought in by the socialists here.
How many troops were brought in? Do you know?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you quite well.
Okay. They made very clear that most of the people who were being killed by the government, the people whom the government will be killing, will be shot in the head. And even a fake monk came on television, who is the Generalissimo's spiritual advisor. He's not a real monk. Said specifically for the general to win this war, he would have to shoot for the head. And what that turned out to be is that these people are being, even children, about 40 have already been killed, 500 people altogether, and these are unarmed, peaceful protesters. I mean, they're screaming and yelling, but they don't have weapons, and who have been killed because of this conflict. They've been shot in the head, and their corpses are immediately taken away from the scene. We have videotape. I sent it to Brian already. The bodies are all the inner organs are removed, and the body is sent back to the families. It's been clear that China has been buying these organs and reselling them inside of China. And they've been doing the same to the Uyghurs as well.
Really? And you have done, some people have done videotape of this taking place?
Yes, I've sent it to Brian already, but I can send it to you again after it's called.
And in the capital, are all of these ethnic groups in the capital, or who is demonstrating in the capital?
I have never seen anyone demonstrate for the military. There have been a couple of clashes, but when you examine these people, these are rough. These are criminals who've been left out of prison. These are, and the sanitariums have been the people who are being cured of heroin addiction have been given incentives to start fires and to rob people and to cause general mayhem. The people here aren't buying it. They're not, and often these people are dressed as monks. And one of the unfortunate things about the Buddhism here is that it's sort of an established law amongst the faithful Buddhists it's not a matter of respecting a monk. They're required to even respect the orange saffron robes they wear. So if someone wishes to claim to be a monk or does horrible damage to someone else wearing these robes, the common people are not allowed even to restrain them.
Oh my gosh! So you have
these are fake monks who are criminals, just dressed up to be monks, and they're just causing general mayhem. We had this in my neighborhood. Someone was stopped from committing arson probably about 5 times. Run and grab, steal people's cell phones probably about a dozen times. These people just maraud through neighborhoods, again dressed as monks, and doing these horrible things.
And is there more conflict in the countryside than in Rangoon also?
Oh yeah, yes, I'm specifically saying about Rangoon, but the atrocities have happened all throughout the entire country. In tiny little villages is where they mostly attack. They believe that if they just kill one person in each village, small village, then the entire nation will, just simply bow to them. It's clear that these are people just with protest signs who are being shot in the head, with 50 children under the age of 18, well under the age of 18. I mean, 12, 13, 14 also killed. Their bodies brought to some processing plant. All their inner organs are removed. I hardly think they're doing postmortems. The organs are removed. The shell, the husk of the corpse is returned to the families, and are with a strict order that the body be cremated immediately. The process for Buddhists normally for the mourning period is that the body stays intact for 2 weeks. And that's mostly supposed to call relatives who live from far away. They come to the wake. But the soldiers and police who are working together are not force the family.
I think we may have temporarily lost the communications. Hold on.
Viewers, we have been in contact with a journalist in Rangoon who has filled us in on some really shocking news that the Chinese have sent troops into Burma to help the government to suppress the people. And furthermore, the Chinese with the Burmese government are, when they kill somebody, they are harvesting their organs to ship back to China so they can go on the market as, organ replacements, perhaps even bought here in the United States. This is this is happening all over Burma, or Myanmar, as it's officially called, but popularly called Burma. And the government seems to have the belief that if they kill a few people, one or more in each village, they will be able to cower the demonstrators. We also learned that the demonstrators, they are peaceful. They have signs, they yell, but peaceful. But the government has pulled a trick. It's an old trick. They have taken people that were criminals and in psychiatric wards to help the people that are on addiction, addicts, and they've turned them out on the street with the bargain is they can stay out on the street as long as they create mayhem on the street to make it seem like the demonstrators are burning and looting and so forth. And then the government has an excuse to shoot the demonstrators. And furthermore, these criminals and addicts are being dressed up in Buddhist robes in order to go do this mayhem for two reasons. One is that the people are very reluctant to interfere with a Buddhist monk.
We have our source back on the line again.
Okay, we have our journalist back on the line. I asked him, and we'll see if he can hear this, that some of the ethnic groups are have particular religious coloration. The many of the Korean group are Christians of some sort. And my question is that playing any role in this conflict?
Anti-Christian feeling since the British left, and actually before they left. There have been 1,000 Christian villages torched and burned to the ground in the last few years, but mostly recently because of the coup. These minor ethnies here, the Burmans are about 65% of the country. Lovely people they are, and the rest of the 147 or thereabouts ethnicities, everyone has a different number, are the ones who are more likely to convert to Christianity and specifically Catholicism. And these people have been targeted. Again, some of the people have been fighting the world's longest secret civil war for 75 years, ever since the British left.
Recently, in this recent conflict, have they targeted religious leaders for coercing them or hurting them or killing them?
Cardinal Bo has been very clear about begging the army to not hurt unarmed protesters, and all the protesters are unarmed because there are just simply no weapons in the country. The only ones who have weapons are the Burmese army and the police, and apparently Chinese agents and soldiers or Marines who've been called in from there. A few 2 weeks ago, so 7 airplanes from China came in the middle of the night, loading equipment to block electronic emissions and telephones, internet, and such things. And the planes were loaded with Chinese troops.
And so, what happened when the Catholic leader urged peace? Were there any repercussions against him or the church?
That I know of, the churches have been shuttered since for a year. I think it was just a year ago, just a few days ago, because of COVID. So there are Catholics here who, just simply are not involved on a weekly basis with their parishes. So that really can't be said one way or another. There has been a crackdown on some Protestant groups. These are desperate people. These are people who are good-hearted. They are the kindest and most gentle, generous people. To a man, these are lovely people, and they don't deserve this kind of treatment. This is one of the most brutal regimes in the world. Most people just don't know about it because Burma just simply fell off the map after when the British Raj left. They had a couple of years of stability under democratic leadership, but then the military started muscling in and causing horrific damage.
What is some of the needs? What can people here do to help what's going on with the people of Burma?
If you beg Catholic universities to offer letters terms of acceptance, so that the youth can continue their studies in America. The American Embassy and several other European embassies are very happy to offer educated student visas, some mostly without problems or restrictions. As long as the kids can speak English, the universities are glad to accept them. I request Catholic ones because I think that we have an understanding of social justice and humanitarianism, that we need to help these kids out. The kids can't be, much younger than 18, of course. We really could use donations, especially from big airlines, to take these kids away. These are not kids who are necessarily going to be staying or living forever in America or Europe. They're staying there temporarily, earning a degree, and then hoping to come back to their families here. The families here are extremely tight, both Buddhist and Catholic. So these are not kids who are wanting to run away from the country. If airline tickets can be bought for these kids and sent here, let's say through the American Embassy or some other European embassy, in waiting for these kids, that would be super. All we need not do on this side is just get them student visas.
What do you expect will happen tomorrow?
More the same. You can't imagine the kind of cruelty here. You read about these things in Nazi Germany. You read about these things with the Iranian Ayatollahs. You heard about these things with the Chinese treatment of the Uyghurs, of just blatant disregard for the sanctity of human life, and just simply shooting children in the streets, shooting children in the jungles. I saw one child shot in front of me.
Well, as a journalist, you would be it could be targeted.
So the protests persist all throughout the entire country. In the hinterlands, in the northern part of Burma is with the foothills of the Himalayas, and some of the worst atrocities were in a village or a small town called Michina. This is one of the horrific things about this place, about this incident, these series of instances, is that the fake monk, whose his nickname in Burmese is Shut Mouth, and it's very ominous if he's saying that everyone else should be shutting their mouth, or is that he say himself that he will keep his mouth shut. He's clearly not a monk. He's bald and he has orange saffron robes, but he's not really a monk, and he speaks like an uneducated person, and he's the sock puppet for the Generalissimo. He specifically made two sort of prophetic pronouncements. One was that the Generalissimo can only win if he aims for the head, and again, immediately after that, children and adults started dying, being shot in the head, and then their bodies being retrieved, their organs being harvested, and the empty husks returned to families. And the second prophetic pronouncement, pseudo-prophetic, was that the Generalissimo would win this conflict if he restricted his fighting only to villages and neighborhoods and towns and cities that begin with the letter M. That is the stupidest and craziest thing you can imagine, but if you look at the list, all of them begin with the letter M. And this was announced on the national television. So Mandalay was immediately hit, and the atrocities there have been horrific. Poor people who struggle just to even buy a bag of rice for their children are being attacked by the army's dogs, who rip apart the food. And seeing these people picking up grains of rice with their fingertips and inside of a broken bag, just so they can feed their children. The next after Mandalay, it was Michina, which is a city in a region called Chin State. In the Chin language, they call it Zoland. And the 85% of the people in Chin State are Christians. Majority are Catholics. And the atrocities I mentioned, which was horrific. I mean, they're even, I dare say, even legendary. They're just so horrific. I don't want to the Buddhists here are warm and welcoming and loving of Catholics, by far more Catholics than they are about Protestants. Harsh feelings or prejudiced feelings against Catholics and Protestants is largely due to the military's fault. The military has had a long history of claiming that Christians are not real Burmese, and to be Burmese, one needs to be a Buddhist. Even going so far as claiming, say, the Muslims are really horrific language. I wouldn't even like to repeat them right now, but calling Muslims, the ones who are here, who are about 2% of the country, as not human. Aung San Suu Kyi, the legitimate leader of the country, who is now under arrest on the Trump charges, was always very kind to the other ethnicities here. As I mentioned, Burmans are 65% of the country. Then there's the other 147 ethnicities. It depends on how you count ethnicity. The number can be anywhere from 135 to up to easily 157, 158. So that's it. The people here are very kind towards Catholics, but the army and military are not.
I don't know what faith you are, and I don't want to know, but I'm sure that many of our viewers would like to pray over you. Would you mind them doing that?
You are very kind to offer that.
What can they pray about? And I understand, I just want to be sensitive because I don't know, what faith you're from, if any, and I just want to be sensitive to that. But if they are praying for you, what should they pray for?
I say you go to the Holy Spirit, because you want the big ticket items, and that is that because miracles happen, and God is in charge. I believe that praying to the Holy Spirit, specifically asking for the cessation to the violence and the cessation against shooting children in the street, shooting unarmed protesters. Nothing is happening in the country. Every shop is shut. So if you wish for people who wish to pray that the military takes the hint. This is no longer like the previous two times that the communists took over. Now everyone has access to the internet, or will have for the next 2 hours. My point is that they now understand what democracy is. Everyone here has met foreigners, and they learned about the West, and they learned about democracy, and they laugh when they hear about socialists in America and Europe who pretend that somehow they're suffering. If people would like to suffer, they believe that things are much better in a communist country. They are welcome to come here. Anything else they wish to pray for? I pray, I hope that listeners will pray that these evil people lay down their arms, that the Holy Spirit is able to make them put aside their ego, make them put aside their selfishness, and come to experience God's love in Jesus Christ. I believe that imagine life wherever you are, in the States, in the first world, in Europe, wherever you wish, all coming to a crashing end. So if anybody wants to know what it is that they need to pray for, imagine that their comfortable lifestyle, where they're happy with their children and their grandchildren and their neighbors and their church or temple or synagogue or whatever, is crashing in around them. That's what life is like here. So all their prayers, and I firmly believe in the efficacy of prayer. I've seen prayer work here. This is the most harrowing experience I've ever had. But I've learned what true friendship is. I've learned what family is. I've learned that strangers who pick me up off the street, being caught in a stampede, of peaceful protesters escaping from live ammunition and weapons held by people who don't care who they hit. I've seen young people struggling, walking in the streets dazed because of flashbang grenades, or holding their arm or a leg because it's been shot at. And the strangers, they couldn't possibly know them, scooping them up, dragging them to the streets, hiding them because they hit me. I've been in 24 of these protests. I've been saved by these people who don't know me, but they see a foreigner here, and they see hope. Evil doesn't last for very long. It can't sustain itself, and that's all this army, junta, and police collaborators are. That's it.
Well, thank you very much for talking with us. We'll keep you in prayer, and we look forward to talking with you openly and freely. Well, we better I better tell our viewers goodbye. My name is Tony Carnes. I'm your host here at A Journey Through NYC Religions Television. We're talking with a journalist from Rangoon, Burma, or Myanmar as it's called, who has roots in New York, but is there helping people and reporting on people what's going on in Burma. We're so glad that the journalist could be with us, who we have to keep anonymous. Thank you, viewers, for joining us. We hope that this program really motivates you to prayer and action, and also with knowledge. We will include some links and options for doing things on our website, and we'll be broadcasting also on Manhattan Neighborhood Network, and you can also watch it there. Thank you very much. Good day.